Listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. Hello one, hello all. Welcome to the podcast in which we obsess over the details of the people who are making up this awesome scene we love, whether it's punk, hardcore, indie rock, emo, metal. We're casting a wide net, but ultimately, as long as it is of that DIY variety, that is the real deal, and that is what we care about. And you're listening to a podcast about it, so you get it. This week is a great conversation I had with Petey USA, who his actual real name is Peter Martin, which obviously you can probably put together the similarities there. But Petey USA, I only got dialed into probably a year and a half ago. He appeared on a friend of the show, Jeremy Bolm's podcast, the first ever podcast. Shout out to obviously him. And if you listen to this show, I can guarantee you will like what he's doing over there. But he came on there and I was like, this guy is really cool, endearing, very sincere about his music. And then I listened to it and I was like, God, I love this. It's really, really good. It definitely has that whole polyvinyl scene, whether you want to call it Midwest emo, whatever. But what he does is bring a certain sheen and a polish to it, but it doesn't make it, like pop music or anything, but it's really, really good. And I have followed along with what he's done ever since. I've yet to see him live, but I want to change that. And I had to have him on. And he was a great chat, because obviously I'm not going to release a bad chat. I think in the history of the show, I think I've only done it once, and I'm not going to let you know which one because that would be rude. But yeah, let's talk to him in a moment. But let's talk about how you can support the show. Of course, just leave a rating and review on the Apple Podcast page or simply leave a rating on Spotify. All those things help the algorithm out, and then obviously recommend the show to the people who need to hear it. You can also email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. I read all of those emails, suggestions of future guests, or just general camaraderie, being like, yo, I listen to the show. This is what I like about it. Or, man, you stink. How about you do this? I get those emails, and you know what? That's fine. I would rather you send a mean email, because that means you are actually viscerally responding to a piece of art out there. And maybe that's overstating the value of the show. Maybe a piece of content, I guess we'll say. But regardless, appreciate all the feedback that comes in via the email. And also, weekly recommendations. There's a link in the show notes that can dump you to an Apple Music page or a Spotify page where it has a playlist of all of the things I've been recommending over the past 2 years or so. And this week is, I'm going to butcher the band's name most likely because they are, I think, Swedish or from the Norwegian area. It's Honningbara. The record is called Soft Spot. And man, this thing is a humdinger. I was never aware of this band up until friend of the show, Riley Breckenridge, the drummer of Thrice. He and I are always trading music recommendations. And anyways, he recommended this record. It was actually on social media. I'm not going to pretend we were texting each other on this one. But his description was like, oh, this is like Refused meets The Hives. And I said, okay, I'm listening. Checked it out. Loved it. I really enjoy this sort of attitude the band brings. They are singing in their own native tongue, so I do not know what they are singing about, but the energy is real, and it also reminded me a lot of Coil Guns. If you remembered from, 6-7 months ago, I recommended that band and their music, but just really, really good stuff. So if you like any of those bands, you will most likely like Honningbara. The record is called Soft Spot, and it came out only a couple weeks ago. So, new record. There we go. Obviously, it's in the playlist. Check it all out, and hopefully you will find some new music in there that you can dig and hopefully enjoy, because that's the best way to find out new music. Friends and family and trusted ones. So let's talk to Petey USA, but he has a re-release of A Case of the Yips, which is a great record coming out on 11/28, November 28th. But truthfully, just stream all of his music. It's really exceptional, really good, earnest, heart on the sleeve stuff, and really, really good. So let's find out more about Petey right now.
I'm praised for nothing, prepared for everything, and scared of anything in between.
I think what took me about your music was the fact that there was a lot of different reference points that you were pulling from, whether it was intentional or unintentional, where it's just like, oh, you got some Midwest emo, you got some cool indie rock, you have obviously humor because you're obviously a funny guy, right? But I think above all, what I liked the most about it was the fact that and I know this sounds like just very basic, but like I could tell you meant it, like you mean it. Like the sincerity comes through, and I think sometimes, especially when you're either combining all these elements or you obviously have humor involved, sometimes that mixture can kind of fall flat. But the question in there is just the with the fact that you're obviously carrying, who you are into your music, like, was there a fear of being like, are people going to take this seriously? Like, I mean, come on, like, are they just going to think I'm a dumb internet guy? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's kind of, that's kind of funny that you asked that, because I often think, about it in the other direction. Like, are people going to take this too seriously and sort of take everything that I'm saying as face value, or take everything that I'm saying as like my core fundamental beliefs or values? When I pull a lot of different references from like different stages of my life and from different parts of like other people's lives that I'm close with or grew up around, or just like the general like ethos of growing up in like the suburban Midwest. And I just write stories like within the only worlds that like I know how to reference. And I get worried that people sometimes would take stuff as like too autobiographical when it's like totally not. So yeah, I think I have this like weird hope that maybe people don't take it very seriously. And
Sure.
While also, hoping that they can hear how sincere that I am in trying to tell these stories from my point of view, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I see. Yeah, I see that point of view. Especially, I mean, I think that anything that is perceived as emotional, whether it's like punk, hardcore, whatever, like there is that element of just like, however I'm expressing this, like, will people either take me too seriously or will people think that I am a joke? Like, it's obviously trying to like thread that needle in between those both, where it's like, I am a real human.
Yeah.
We all align on the funny to not funny spectrum.
Yeah.
But where, are you going to reckon with my words that I am saying as being like, you're way too hard on your sleeve, like calm down.
Sure. Yeah. Or like, as stuff that's as like superficial as like family members worrying about me, or like, like stuff like that. Like it's really crazy to have just to have that be your product. It's like it's a wild it's pretty wild.
Yeah. well, and especially too, where it's like when I mean, you're a multi hyphenate, I mean, you're a internet mogul, and like just that idea that it's like when a person has notoriety in one thing, like, I mean, I'll use podcasting as a reference point, where it's like, there are so many times where, and I'm sure it's been echoed back to you, where it's like, oh, dude, like, Pete, how about you do a podcast, dude? Like, you got juice on TikTok, so you got to do a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't always work. Like, people don't follow over,
right?
And that's hard sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And I think with like leading with like the internet skit and humor stuff, I create like a lot of like ethereal worlds where it's like so clearly not the real world. It's not governed by like actual social anything. So it's not taken seriously in a way that I really like, in a way that's like really freeing, to where I'll just like, I won't even think about it. Like, I'll just write something in the morning and we'll put it up that night, and some of it'll hit, some of it won't. But the bottom line is just like, I'm not worried about how it's going to be perceived because it's so goofy and ridiculous. So it just like takes a lot of the pressure off. Whereas, you know, songs are interpreted as a bit more personal or literal, I guess. Which is really
Hmm.
funny, like even more than movies sometimes. Like I think when people like comment on lyrics or something, or prescribe like a lyric to my lived experience or what I actually like, what my opinion is on something. I find that with like songs, people think that it's just that lyrics are an actual extent, like a literal extension of that. And I'm like, you know, people write some really fucked up, weird movies all the time, but they're not really thinking that those are like the writer or director's beliefs, you know. Uh,
Sure.
so yeah, it's just kind of a funny thing that I think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very valid point where it's like the expression that one has in different mediums there's something that is hard baked into each of those mediums DNAs, where it's like, you know, if a person paints someone killing somebody, like not everybody assumes that that person is a murderer.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, or it's like you look at, you know, John Wayne Gacy painting clowns or whatever. You're just like, okay, like
Yeah.
you can't trace those lines together. It's like, this is just, you know, like he's, you know,
Yeah.
maybe he identifies as a clown, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. And some musicians really, you really get away. I think it's just the context and like how they come up and how they're sort of like introduced into the world. And, you know, if you take a lot of lyrics on like "Is a Real Boy" super literally, there's some pretty scary stuff in there. But it, you know, and there's, but it's like a brilliant. It's that, I mean, that's my favorite album of all time. Um, and you're not really like trained to take everything literally, and maybe it was just like the time it came out. Um, but I don't know. I think there's like an authenticity drive in this day and age to sort of like sift through like all the bullshit and the confusion of like the internet and social media and stuff. Um, so I think that like a part of the appeal to my music is like kind of the authenticity of it all. It's like sort of like people imagine that like we are buddies, you know, and are sort of like listening to sort of a journal. And that's just sort of the world that has taken on uh that's what's just sort of like taken on life for me. So I don't know. It's just it's a funny thing to navigate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll pull some of those navigation threads a little bit later, but you know, reflecting on your kind of personal entry point to music that you know was not on the radio, that was like you were, you know, consuming of it, like Say Anything is a prime example
Mhm.
of like how did that stuff start to get introduced to you? Was that you know, simply, you know, trolling around MySpace? Like, you know, how is that stuff being delivered?
Always through friends. So I was like, I'm never
Okay.
gonna be the guy who's like going on the internet and finding stuff. I'm really not the person who's like really seeking anything out in general. I'm always the person who's friends with someone who's doing that, and they show me, and some of it really sticks, and then I sort of just take it for my own. So I think that just like every band, every song that I've listened to has always been like the friend on MySpace, um, or the friend reading Pitchfork, and then me just sort of like being a passenger in their car and showing me some stuff, and that's just like how I found stuff. But yeah, I've always been pretty passive with my discovery.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you're like, if I surround myself with the right people, it's going to come to me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, that's kind of like the
The
reason for just like being off the internet and social media in general. Like I do it when I can, and just like if something happens, like I'll hear about it.
right.
Yeah.
No, it's true in the era that everybody exists in, that you know, every push notification or email or whatever, it's just like it'll get to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in 36 hours, like that information will probably change. So
Yeah.
it's probably not that important.
Yeah. Yeah. I really would love to. The next thing I need to do is like I really want to buy an alarm clock that so I can just like charge my phone outside my room. Um,
Right.
just to have that. I don't know. I just really want that, and I think the only thing that I would information wise that I would really miss out on is sort of just like emergency stuff. Like if there's like I don't know,
Sure.
if I'm living by the ocean one day and there's a tsunami or something, I'd really like to be notified of that um,
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. But other than that, I think I could, I could wait 24 hours.
Right. Yeah. Just so I guess with that passenger nature that you were talking about, did you ever, I guess, self-identify as like, oh yes, like, I am an indie rock kid, I'm a hardcore kid, I'm a punk kid. Like, were you, that embroiled in any of those particular scenes, or were you just kind of, traveling, like you said, along with your friends, and never was like, I am this person, this is my identity?
Oh yeah, I was always a little bit jealous of people who found those identities. And I don't even know if I had a lot of examples of them in my own real life. I think it's just like watching TV shows or watching movies. There's just like a character who like super, it just kind of like identifies with the scene. And I was always really jealous of that. Like the people who knew everything about the bands that they listened to and they only listened to one genre of music.
Right.
Especially hardcore kids and especially metal kids. Like that was always just like, it just seemed really cool to me. And it's not something that like I ever felt like I had the bandwidth to like start the research on to like get dialed and just it like it wasn't happening
Yeah.
naturally. So I'm just like I never like made the choice. Um I will say growing up in Chicago was kind of cool because like Fall Out Boy was from there, the Academy was from there, whole bunch of like early 2000s pop punk bands, and it so it was just really a part of like suburban culture. Um, so you would just have sort of everyone listening to Take This to Your Grave. It wasn't just like emo
Of
kids
course.
wearing like their sister's pants on the sig corner, like it was really sort of spread out. So that was just like, oh yeah, Fall Out Boy is just this sort of local band that everyone listens to, and it's not even like the genre isn't really a part of it. So like the transition from like listening to Dave Matthews Band to Fall Out Boy wasn't a secret one. It was kind of just like
Right.
so um yeah, I never really sort of like I identified with any sort of scene that involved a specific aesthetic or group of kids. I was definitely floating around. I was definitely like friends with a lot of kids playing sports, and also friends with a lot of kids playing music. And whoever's parents were out of town that weekend, kind of like everyone would party there together.
Let's take a break in the action to talk about some of our friends and companies that are amazing and you should be aware of. Evilgreed.com. Full stop, one of the best places to shop on the internet for heavy music merchandise and records. First of all, they want you to save 10% off of your first order by using the promo code VINYL, VINYL. And I don't care whether you're into, bands like Nothing or Fucked Up, or if you're into bands like, Earth Crisis and Angel Dust. They specifically work with a handful of bands and a handful of record labels to bring you all of the high quality stuff. Long sleeves, short sleeves, hoodies, exclusive colors of vinyl, pre-orders. Trust me, you're going to want to go to evilgreed.com and shop away. I have done so many times, and truly it reminds me of the days in which I used to get like the Revelation Records catalogs or the Very Distro catalogs and just pour over them and send $100. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, I've got this rad box of cool stuff from all different bands that I enjoy. And that's why Evil Greed is the best. They're based in Berlin, Germany, but they ship worldwide, and the shipping rates to us are very advantageous here in the United States, obviously. So get familiar, go to evilgreed.com, use the promo code VINYL for 10% off your order today. Thank you, Evil Greed. You tapped into the, suburban lifestyle, and that existed so well with Chicago, where it was like, yes, you could go to the Metro and see, Alkaline Trio or whatever,
Yeah.
but then there was such a diverse roster of bands that you could, like yourself, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll go to a little bit of all of these shows. Or alternatively, you can be like, I have to go to every single, hardcore show that I find in the suburbs or whatever.
Right.
But it gave you a a nice, bird's eye view, so to speak, of kind of like, okay, like I see what this show is like versus this show.
Yeah.
And here's the differences that I see about the audience composition.
Exactly. Yeah, I got like a little taste of everything, and I think access to the city just made that so easy. I mean, Chicago is such a great place to grow up and see concerts. Um, the access is pretty unbelievable, and the venues are still some of my favorite venues in the country, and they're I don't know. It's just I was at them all the time from when I was 14 years old. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And when because I mean, I know like music was an important part of your life, but that wasn't like the life path where you were just like, started playing bands when you were 16 years old and be like, I hate school. I'm going to go on tour, like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
What was, I guess, the proverbial life path? Because I know obviously like you went to college and, did all that. But it sounds like there was a, somewhat of a desire to be attached to the entertainment industry in some capacity. But what was the kind of the vision?
Yeah, I played in bands in high school.
Okay.
I played in a band called Young Jesus. I played drums. They're still a band today. They're awesome. Um, but I knew I was good at it. I think I've always had such I've always been such like a slow processor and such a confused person ever since I was a little kid that I've just strived to be good at something and to be rewarded for it. So that one for me was playing drums. Um, so looking back on it, I oftentimes am confused if I like loved playing drums or if I just loved being good at something and being acknowledged for it and having like adults tell me that like, oh, this is something you can go to school for, and you can do this during school, and you can play in jazz band, and that'll be a letter grade. And um it was always just like an avenue for me to, I think, to feel accomplished, I guess, because I didn't think that I was so confused about that specifically and like everything else. So I kind of just leaned into that. Um, and yeah, and I just played in bands, and I liked playing in bands. I liked playing in shows. Um, and then I went to college, and the high school band kind of dissolved. And yeah, I knew I was always like musical because again, I had a lot of like outside affirmation on it, you know. So I just like kept on lightly dipping my toes in, but not enough to like commit and be let down by it, I think. So it was always a lot of like
Sure.
superficial engagement in kind of like the arts in general. Cause again, I had a whole lot of other social interests, right? Uh, so it was just always, yeah, it was always just like, I'll try this out. And then maybe it like got too real sometimes, and then I would pull back and try it out and pull back and try it out and pull back until uh I had just been like working out in the real world for a bit too long with zero answers zero answers at all. And I was just like, you know what, okay, I'm good, well, let me do the thing that people have always told me I was good at, and uh we'll do that. And the last time I tried that, that's this project now. That's what we're doing. So,
Right.
yeah.
That's that. It's funny where I think I mean, to a lesser degree in that, like, I guess, like early to mid 2000s, like there was at least some bands and artists you could point to from a sort of independent music scene that started to, rise to be able to like actually make a living or whatever. But there was still like, you felt like making it, quote unquote, was the fact that like you could tour 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And then like, maybe you'll come home for those 3 months and like not have to work or like go to a bagel shop and work there for a couple shifts but there wasn't like that sort of long-term strategy. So I understand what you're talking about, where it was just like, oh, like there isn't necessarily a future here, but like
Right.
that's not preventing you from exploring it. But I think some people do feel that pressure where it's like, oh, if I'm not like 100% all in, I can't do it. And it's just like, no, you can't. Like you
Yeah.
can still balance your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the internet is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The and so on that, subject of you getting that, validation from, adults and being like, oh, like music seems to be something that you're interested and or good at.
Mm-hmm.
What progressed you from drums to obviously messing around with other instruments and, doing vocals and like, what was the kind of step-by-step process into broadening your range?
Yeah, so I always wanted to, like, whenever I was at band practice with the indie bands that I played in, I always wanted to pick up the guitar and like write stuff. And then I started writing songs or just pitching song ideas for the bands that I was playing drums for. Um, and I always really liked that. And then when I realized that you could draw in MIDI notes on GarageBand with like the synth sounds there and sort of like get the whole picture at once. I was like, oh, okay, this is it for me. This is my thing. But I never wanted to be like a EDM producer or an electronic music producer. But I was just like, all I want is to be able to hear like the whole composition at once. Um, so I started doing that, and that sort of became like the building blocks for like the songs that I ended up releasing. So I still write music that way. I still just uh, type in MIDI notes on a grid and have synthesizers playing them, and then print that out and record real instruments over them. But that's why I think in a good amount of songs, at least 50% of the songs, there's just like a synth loop that remains the entire time. And that's usually what I start with. And so, yeah, the first two songs I ever recorded were Apple TV remote in California. And you can hear it pretty quick. They're both just, syncopated rhythmic hooks over and over again. And that's the way I kind of fell in love with that process specifically. And I've tampered with other ones, but then I always just end up coming back to that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's cool that you've taken the, sort of EDM or DJ principles and been like, I can apply this to, like catchy indie rock as well, right?
Totally.
Like there's nothing preventing me.
Totally. And yeah, I love synth sounds, but if you put me in front of an actual synthesizer, I'll have no idea what to do. I mean, no idea. And I don't really care to learn either. It literally doesn't interest me. So that's
incredible.
This thing that I have going on right now is great. Yeah, it's perfect for me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, truthfully, if you did open up that, Pandora's box, you'll be broke in like 2 months because you'll be like, dude, I've got a room of synthesizers now, bro.
Yeah, absolutely not. Could not be me. I don't even really wear headphones when I'm making music. Like the way I just kind of plug it in, and if I can hear it melodically and it sounds good, then that's good enough for me. And then I'll usually work with the producer who'll be like, this is, what was nice about working with Chris on this last one is a lot of the times he was like, this sounds great, just use this. So that was cool. But
yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
Someone who I know is a big touch point for you, especially in regards to comedy, but then, being able to directly connect him back to the music world, and a previous guest on the show as well as Mr. Fred Armisen.
Right.
That conceit of understanding, like, when did you, I guess, not only discover him, but then start to discover like his musical background, or was that pretty like blocked off because you didn't do deep dives on people or whatever? When did you become aware of, I guess, his, musical nature beyond the comedy stuff that you were already into?
I think it was just, it was really blocked off because of the research block. So, I mean, that was
Sure.
I'm clearly obsessed with Portlandia, like no surprise there. But Portlandia in general is such a musical show that you get the idea that there's a real cool background in history there just from being a fan of the show. So I think that's when I kind of became aware. But
yeah,
huge fan.
It's I not to armchair psychologist or psychologize, I don't know, whatever, but that the fact that you what's the saying, like what is it, like a mile wide and an inch deep or whatever, where it's just that it sounds like you're a Renaissance man where you're like, I know a little about a lot, but don't ask me follow-up questions.
Exactly.
Don't go, okay.
Dude, I couldn't have
All
said it
right.
better myself. Yeah, I've actually never been able to describe it like that, but it's so simple the way you put it, and that is just me in a nutshell. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, and I mean, and that, I mean, not only is that a very interesting and I mean, works for you, but it gets you a lot of different inputs because I'm sure like now that you are, a professional musician human being and you can write that on your, customs forms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you could end up just writing about tour for your next song or your next record or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's always right there.
Right.
But like, I don't feel like you'll probably do that because you're just like, oh yeah, but I know about all this other stuff and I want to bring in all these other things that you're not going to write, a tour record or whatever,
Yeah.
because you still have all these experiences to probably pull from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe just like weird interactions that I have while on tour that aren't really musically related.
Right.
That'll inspire a lot of lyrics, but not necessarily like I'm not really like an on the road type of writer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you started to, obviously receive attention as the, online human being that you were, or that you are through the, pandemic and understanding that music was attached to it, clearly there starts to be, business implications, when people are approaching you for, "Oh, do a brand deal with me," and all this. Like, did you feel, I guess, it's a two-part question. Did you feel equipped to, I guess, receive the attention? And did you feel equipped to kind of handle the sort of business implications?
Yeah, I felt equipped to receive the attention just because none of it felt super real for me. First of all, it all happened during COVID. So I wasn't getting real life attention because no one was seeing each other.
Right.
And that was great. And TikTok for me did not seem real at all. I just like the I don't have the thing in my brain that's like these interactions are real or that these interactions it just like didn't I don't know. It was so it just was so unreal to me. I don't know. It didn't affect me at all. Um
Mhm.
what was nice is that about the brand stuff is that I had already signed with an agency that had a department to be able to like sort of admin and like broker those deals. So that was really hands off for me too. Um and we did like a handful of them back when TikTok was a new thing. I mean, they were coming in and like brands didn't know what the hell it was, so they were just sort of like it was real. It was kind of like pretty. They were just throwing cash out, and um, it was fun. I mean, we like it was fun to go into those meetings and figure out how I can do my thing to be able to sell Converse, and it became like a really fun game to try and see like how much of my world I could get away with while also making them happy. And that was actually that was a good time. That was cool. It was so, I just felt so lucky to be not in an office and making money that way. Um but yeah, I felt equipped to handle it because of like just like the support that I had. Um
That's good. That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can, I mean, if you, very similar to, like, I mean, the fact you're on a major label and like the fact that you had to navigate that, but you, most likely had people that you work with that you trust to be able to help you navigate that side of things.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you are, an idiot child. Like you can still feel like an idiot child, but like you can have an adult take care of the contracts or be like, okay, this is okay.
For sure. Well, just keep I mean the way that the timeline worked out uh was that like I signed to an independent record label, like my favorite record label ever when I was just 10 years ago, Terrible Records. And then the guy after I did my album with them, the guy who runs the label, Ethan, became my manager. So he co-managed me with me and my friend Will. Um, and so it was really like everything was really close and not like corporate and not like walk into the big conference room and dance on the table to your song and have all these people in suits and all that stuff. Like there was none of that in the beginning. And then we signed with Capitol Records while the Capitol building was under construction, and my A&R for that, Katie, she used to work at like Secretly Canadian and was like just like was this whole brought the whole like indie world with her, and my team was like only like 5 more people who were just like Ethan, and we were all friends, you know, and like didn't again never walked into like big conference rooms and did all that stuff. And so by the time it came around to the third record, like in I had been in the same world for so long, doing the same type of things with the same people. It all felt really comfortable from the get go. Um, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I like wasn't seeking the big I wasn't seeking the big conference room vibe or like any of that bullshit. I always wanted it to be just like a group of, 5 people at
Right.
someone's house, you know.
It came like if it comes gradually, I mean, I guess you could also, use the metaphor of a, frog in boiling water, but we're not going to do that here because you're not a frog in boiling water. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if it comes gradually,
Yeah.
if it comes gradually, then it feels more approachable where it's like, I already trust these people. Like, what's one more? They seem cool. Everybody seems to trust them. It's like, yeah, we're cooking
And
with
they
gas.
have
So
like
I get
incredible
that.
taste and they're fans, you know. They're like first and foremost like everyone's a fan. Uh and that was cool. So I didn't like really look beyond that. Um and so I've just been like really lucky in that regard. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got a pretty sensitive like horseshit meter. Uh so I'm not like I don't like do like I'm not like kind of like the smoke screen thing and the big industry stuff, but it's just like, well, I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to do any of it. Uh, yeah, it's been nice. It's been just like really nice and family oriented, and it's cool.
Right. Yeah. You didn't get the, hey kid, we're going to make you a star speech.
Yeah. I think that when we were talking to a couple different labels, there were a couple of those conversations, and it's just like, no, you're not. But I hope you'll allow us to continue to do our thing. And so,
Right.
yeah, so, yeah.
Well, and it's also, I mean, I guess going back to kind of the, original jumping off point at the beginning where it's just like, being taken seriously as an artist, versus just like, oh, here's an extension of my internet personality that it's like, I mean, truthfully, like, and not comparing you to an absolute legend where it's like, Weird Al, like if he came out now
Mhm.
and he, I mean, you clearly don't do parodies of songs, but like, you could see a world in which like he rises to prominence on the internet and then people are just like, hey, dude, do funny songs
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
Um, and so it's like, I can see where people would try to, dip in and try to not force you, but like usher you down a road of like doing something that, would ultimately be just a pale comparison to like what your actual music is, where it's just like,
yeah,
let's distill this down to something funny or whatever.
yeah. It's been nice because there's just like so much like my fans are really great and they're a really, really tight knit community and they're really, really sort of publicly vocal about the fact that like they go to they go to my stuff to like laugh at the videos and then cry at the songs. And it's sort of just like this emotional whiplash thing that's sort of defined uh the fan base, it seems, just based on like what I've read and what people have told me. Um so that's been like a really nice, like obvious support system and a really nice base for any sort of bigger entity like a label or whatever to have sort of visual proof of, especially if they go to the concerts and everything. And it's been enough
Mm-hmm.
for them not to fuck with. So that's great. Good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, and again, it's kind of like threading that needle where it's just like, okay, like I'm big enough where you'll pay attention to me, but I'm not so big to where you're going to have like 400 people telling me what to do. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I could sell tickets. Like everybody's okay, right?
Yeah.
Like we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely that's been the vibe and it's great. Yeah. That's right, Wes.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, truthfully, it is like, and you've seen it kind of on the flip side where there are, like bands that are successfully on a ton of tours because they're like, what I like to call a band's band, where everyone's like, dude, this band is sick. I love to tour with them. Like, they maybe are providing 20 tickets a night, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just want them
The
here.
vibe is
And it's
good.
like,
Yeah.
totally. But then it's like, if you're trying to capture both of them where it's like, okay, like, that'd be sick to be a band's band. People want to tour with me, but then like, I can actually sell some tickets too, guys. And like, everybody works together on it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that exactly what you just described has been a real blessing. It's cool. And it's allowed me to like extend album cycles. You know what I mean? It's just like we'll finish the headlining tour and then just get like a bunch of really awesome support tours, and that's great. It's like I went out with Manchester Orchestra. It was like the best 2 weeks ever. Yeah, we just get like a ton of fun stuff coming our way. And it's awesome.
Rockabilia is basically the best place for you to purchase gifts for your friends and family this holiday season. And the reason I say gifts is because it is a one-stop shop. I don't care whether you're into hardcore, punk, metal, mainstream rock, mainstream hip hop, anything they got, and it's all officially licensed. But before you go to rockabilia.com, you need to use the promo code 100 words or less. That gets you 10% off your entire order. And then it lets them know that you heard about it from the show, and the marketing works and everybody wins on that. But truthfully, what they do best is they are making sure that all of the bands get paid, because truthfully, there's many places which you can purchase merchandise on the internet that it is bootlegs. And I'll be the first to say I have bought a bootleg thing here and there. And do I feel good about it? No, but that is why you can go to rockabilia.com and wash away your sins. No joke, they ship very quickly in the United States of America, based in Minneapolis. It gets to anywhere you possibly could want, but you can do all of your holiday shopping there. And I don't care. Whatever it is you're into, they got it. 500,000 items and more. So cool. I showed my son this, who's just starting to get into a lot of different classic rock stuff. And he was like, Dad, could I have like $500? And I'm just like, no. But that's the sort of vibe that Rockabilia curates. So go to rockabilia.com, use the promo code 100 words or less for 10% off your order right now. I know this is probably difficult for you to answer, but like, you seem like a chill dude,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I imagine you've got opinions. You're like, yeah, I want the song this way. Like, do you find yourself, I guess, easy to collaborate with? Or, I mean, not like you're burning bridges left and right, but like, how does that kind of work, that collaboration work with you, because the stuff is coming from your brain?
Yeah, for sure. I think the stuff that I think is fun, I want to do, so like it's really fun for me to go into a studio and play all the instruments. Like that's really fun. And like if this is my job, this is my life, like I like to do that. I had my live band record with me this time, and that was a lot of fun too. And it made everything go like really quickly, and it forced me to kind of get all my shit together beforehand and sort of like prescribe different things to different people. But at the end of the day, I still ended up going back and recording all the instruments to a couple of songs, and I was just like, oh, this is just really fun for me. I don't know if it's like even an anti-collaboration or whatever. I don't really see it as that. I'm just like, this is how I like to do it, and this is super fun. I loved collaborating with Chris, because he was able to access certain. He's just like my favorite guitar player. So it's like yeah, when you're in a room with your favorite guitar player, you hand him a guitar, and it's crazy. And I do like collaborating with producers a lot, because there is a certain element of like a producer brain that can just put the stop sign up when I need them to, and tell me that something's not necessary, and to sort of create like sonic handoffs that there might just be a little bit too much going on in my head to really see clearly at the moment. So yeah, I mean it's fun. It's a mix of both, and it depends on the song. but I really, really like working by myself. I really like writing by myself. I really like playing all the instruments myself. I also really like jamming with a band when the song's appropriate. And I really like handing up stuff to the producers. So it's all kind of all of the above,
Right.
but it's all just kind of depends on the song, and each different songs can benefit from different things. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
very much symbolic of your personality that I can gather, where it's just like you're like, yeah, yeah, like I'm down to clown. Like
yeah,
I'm interested in working with you as long as I trust you, and like we feel like we're getting something good going. Like, sure,
yeah,
that sounds great.
totally. I
Yeah.
uh, I really hate wasting money. I have like I don't know. I think probably just conditioned financial insecurity, and it just sort of like inefficiency with that sort of stuff drives me fucking crazy. And it's hard sometimes being in this industry just because the economics of it are so entirely fucked, especially on the touring side. So I do get pretty neurotic about um certain things, about how money is spent and about how time like about how things are going. um so and there's also like kind of like the side of it where it's just like if money's tight and I need to just like do this all myself in an hour, that actually might yield the better result anyway. Just with the
Right.
limitations of it all. Um, so yeah, I definitely can veer towards that as well. But it definitely isn't coming from like a don't touch my shit place. It's just like,
Yeah.
listen, I know that like the song's done. This is how I want it, and I want to do it fast, and I don't want to pay everyone because,
Totally.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, it's like the idea of being able to, finish something from start to finish on your own, and like you're just like, oh yeah, the only thing that I'm investing is my time, and like, yeah, that's an important and valuable resource, but I'm like, yeah, like we're able to get this across the finish line in a what I feel cheaper and maybe slightly more efficient way. So be it.
yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun. And I also like to write everything. So it's just like I'm not super open to being like, hey guys, I'm writing a record. Friend A, friend B, friend B, throw me your ideas. Like I don't want anyone's ideas. I want to come up with the ideas because that's really fun. But I can't prescribe that from the get-go because I'll say that, and then all of a sudden, I think recently my bass player Drew was just playing something during sound check once, and I was like, "What's that?" My ears perked up, and it just hit my brain in the exact moment where I just like needed a bedrock of chords for these lyrics that I had written, and that became Model Train Town. So, I mean, I can make things easier and be like, "Everyone, I'm doing this myself. Please don't send me any beats. Don't send me anything." You know what I mean? And that's how I
Yeah.
actually want it. But then I'll miss out on, Drew giving me the shit from Model Train Town, and then that song doesn't exist. And that's one of my favorite songs I've ever made. So I don't know. It's all just a giant shit show where it's just like, hopefully, catch me on the right day, right hour, or not.
Yeah.
And either way, not that big of a deal.
Right. Maybe it'll eventually come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, when you started to, play shows under the, moniker PD, I presume PD USA was for legal reasons, right? Like there was someone else named PD.
Yeah, yeah, and it started out just being an
Okay.
Instagram handle, and then it just became a way to tie everything together and keep everything under the same roof. While also, I mean, there's some symbolism there that I think is important to be a part of the whole world. So there's that as well. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, when you started to play under that, not only moniker, but then, play shows and actually have people paying attention to what you were doing. When I guess when was it apparent to you from like either a live perspective or something happening where you felt like you were resonating with more than maybe just your core group of fans or people that were following you from your TikTok videos? Like when did you feel where it's like, oh, there, guys, there's something here?
yeah. The first shows we ever played were a group of 4 shows in LA, Chicago, or sorry, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco. Um, in Portland. So 5 shows, and all the shows sold out immediately. We doubled up. I mean, they were small venues, but we doubled up in Chicago and New York. Um, and everyone knew all the lyrics to all the songs. So it was kind of just right off the bat. It was just like, damn, this is real, and people are loving the tunes. So
Right.
that was really
That's
nice. That was really nice.
Yeah, well, especially to come out swinging like that, and then I'm sure, like, did you? And I know this is a somewhat cliched question, but
Mm.
you was there, nerves behind you getting up on stage, or did it feel like a very simple extension of yourself?
There was so much nerves. Oh my gosh, I was like, yeah, I'm not meant to be in front of people. And
Well, you chose. I hate to break it to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You chose the wrong profession, my friend.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, just crazy blackout nerves. Don't remember a thing. Got through it.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Do you? I know you probably clearly feel better about it now, and your performing nature, and you getting on stage. I'm sure there's still nerves, but when you are doing, when you play festivals, and obviously when you play things that are like clearly like this is not a 500 cap venue,
Yeah.
like you have to act differently. Sometimes you think you have to be big when it's like actually be smaller because there's the big TV screens up there or
Yeah.
whatever. What have you, I guess, what have you learned about yourself from a performance perspective, having to, kind of modulate how you're presenting yourself?
I don't know if I've thought that critically about it or if I've changed that much. I'm nervous every time.
Okay.
And I have trained myself to hold back on the moments where I don't really need to go for it. And I think my first instinct when I first started playing was like the energy's got to be there, and I got to go for everything. And people love it when you just really go for it. But then I realized I couldn't make it through a set just going for everything. So
Sure.
through experience, I've really learned when to take it easy. And even if there's a moment where I'm really screaming on the record, it's sort of just like, when do I chill so that I can go for it on the stuff that really matters, and kind of clocking what part of the performance really matters, and like when do they really, really need to see it go all out, and save it for that, and hold back on maybe some of the less important moments, and maybe some of those high energy moments that I downplay live become kind of a new favorite version. So yeah, it's all about learning that stuff through experience.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, anybody that's played in a band that has toured realizes pretty quickly that it's like, oh, dude, I'm gonna be gassed after the first 2 songs if I'm going this hard. Like, I got 8 more after this. Like, I got to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or if you're in Denver and you're just like, you know what, the air is thinner up here.
It really is.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or in Mexico City, we've opened for Blink-182 twice in Mexico City, and it is like, I was running around the stage again because I was just, again, blackout anxiety in a stadium. And after the first 2 songs, I was like, I've made a terrible mistake. But ended up getting through it. I just didn't move for the rest of the set. Yeah.
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 You're like, guys, I'm gonna lay down the rest of it. I sprained my ankle. I got to sit down. We're good,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I promise. I have learned from the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. I will make a lot of jokes. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
um, I have to credit the shirt wearing that you have in regards to, like, you definitely dip into the vintage silly. I mean, you were wearing a 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor shirt, or some version of it. I'm
Yeah,
eyeballing right now.
yeah.
So it seems like t-shirts is I don't know if I would call it a passion of yours. Is that something that you are, interested in collecting, and you try to find, like, silly stuff that also, expresses, the silly side of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I just really like vintage t-shirts. I think, I kind of go by the philosophy that, like, all the clothing's already been made already, so just, like, go find it. Especially if you're a guy that just wears t-shirts. Especially if you're a guy that wears t-shirts and thinks that they look better in t-shirts that are too big for them. It really opens up an entire world of just like, if it's XL or above, like it's a free for all. I don't have to worry too much or be too prescriptive about the size. So I just put in search terms like what I want. I really like the color charcoal lately, so I'm just buying a bunch of like vintage charcoal t-shirts. That's how I found this one. Just search like vintage charcoal t-shirt, and I mean, this shirt is hilarious. I don't even know it says Las Vegas at the bottom. I don't even know what it's promoting
Oh,
besides tequila in general. Uh, so that's another.
I
And
that's really good.
I also get a bit like you can't mix a sports hat with another sports t-shirt. So you can't. I'm wearing a Cubs hat right now. You can't wear a Cubs hat and a Cubs t-shirt. Uh, so it's important if you're a sports hat wearing guy, you got to have an interesting collection of not sports related t-shirts, so that you can walk out of your house and not look like you're going to the baseball game. Um,
Right. Or you're a like, yeah, if you, I mean, or you're a sponsored athlete where it's like you walk out the door in your full Lululemon gear and it's like,
yeah,
dude, are you really? Like, no.
exactly. So yeah, definitely passionate about vintage clothes. Like I buy jeans on eBay too, and I've been really vocal about the fact that I'll like never buy new clothes again. Until this past weekend, I went to my wife's hometown in New Hampshire, and she lives next to an LL Bean outlet, and I'd never been into an LL Bean before, let alone an LL Bean outlet. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for my entire fucking life. Everything in here is amazing. So I bought a new pair of pants, and I bought a water bottle, and I bought a new pullover, and I was like, okay, I'll buy new clothes if it's here because everything in here is the coolest thing ever, and I'm wearing it every day and getting all sorts of compliments. So, vintage clothes only unless there's an LL Bean outlet from now on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to have your standards, and I do appreciate the fact that you're visiting L Bean, and it's I don't actually know where the company is headquartered, but I'm going to presume in the Northeast, because that's obviously their cozy vibes.
Yeah.
So that feels appropriate. Like, and maybe your ethos can be, if I am in an area that this clothing company is known for, I'll visit your outlet store.
Sure. Unless it's like Uniqlo or like H&M or like Cost or
Yep.
whatever, it's just like figure it out. Like figure something else out. Like I don't know. I don't know. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I want all that to go away.
Sure. It's like fashion as utility. Well, I mean, obviously there's a name for it, fast fashion, but
Yeah.
it's just like that notion. Like I so distinctly remember a friend that I was on tour with where he just would literally like throw away his shirts after like they played the show like at the hotel or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "You're just gonna leave your shirt behind there?" He's like, "Yeah, let's just get another one."
Oh.
I was like,
Yeah.
people do that? I was like, that's insane.
Horrible.
I know.
I'll recycle them all at Goodwill. So I'll take my old shirts, bring them to Goodwill, and then it'll give me permission, almost like a carbon credit, to buy 10 more, and then I'll go through like a quarterly kind of recycling thing, and then the ones that count I get from eBay because those are researched. Those are a little
Right.
bit more.
They're curated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I always appreciate people that wear, as much as I think it is cool for bands to have a presentation in regards to like, okay, here's my stage clothes versus my, clothes that I would normally wear. I appreciate that. But there's also something that is just, to me, refreshing when it's like a person literally is just like, yeah, like I wore this all day. Like, here's my stage clothes. Like that's cool.
Yeah, totally. I wish, I love jackets and sweatshirts so much, and I wish that concert venues were cool enough physically to be able to wear that stuff, but I haven't really found a situation where I can comfortably do that. A flannel maybe, but
right.
We'll play some festival in Bend, Oregon someday, and I'll be able to wear my cool jacket. But
Of course, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, people do that already in regards to just wearing hoodies and 100-degree weather. I mean, that's like the mark of a teenager. So it's like
yeah,
there's no reason you can't do it. But then you would just be like a sweaty mess, and that's probably not what you want to do because you're a smart person.
yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, it's 110 degrees here, and I saw a group of high school students wearing t-shirts in this or hoodies in the sun the other day. I was like, what is happening? Wow.
I think, yeah, no, I do think it's something where you think you look so sick in a particular piece of clothing,
Yeah.
and like you're just like, I'm gonna wear this like no matter what the temperature is because I look so good in this.
Gosh, high school is so hard. So glad.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
I know. Uh, because you were a sports human being, have you had the opportunity or been tapped to, like throw a first pitch or sing the national anthem?
Yeah, I threw a first pitch out for the Cubs. And that was awesome. Really, really cool.
How, yeah. And because they're, well, did they introduce you as, a musician, or were you, TikToker Petey? Like, how did they,
They introduced me as a musician because it coincided with my album release. So very nice to do that. I was, however, technically throughout the second pitch next to or behind a random lady who just won a raffle. So that was a bit anticlimactic. But
you're like button in there.
yeah. I didn't mind. I was I was cool about it. But just being on the field at Wrigley, I mean, it's so legendary. It's such a happy place. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And yeah, I'll never forget it. It was such a fun day. We went to Sheffield's down the street before and had a party. Great bar. But
yeah, well, and it's like there are very few, even if you could care less about baseball, there are places that you go, whether it's, I'm an hour south of LA. So like obviously Dodger Stadium, and they got Fenway. I mean,
yeah,
when you go there, you just feel the gravity of it. You're just like, oh, I see why this sport is important.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It's so awesome. So I did that. No national anthem bids yet. It would be hilarious. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to be pretty dumb to book me to do the national anthem, I think. I would make it sound horrible. I don't know if I would, unless it was some sort of like Nathan Fielder-esque like bit or experiment. I don't know, but I have very little interest in doing that, and I think any programmer would maybe. I wouldn't do it well. I wouldn't do it well. I don't have
You would
American Idol style voice. But, yeah.
Right. And it's like the people that get pulled in to do that, have the really charismatic, the voice fills up the room, that, the soulful nature where it's like, like, hey, I can sing in a, high pitched, somewhat nasally voice.
Yeah.
You into that?
Yeah. I've always said like I sing because I have to, like it's a part of like the assignment, but I'm not a singer,
Right. But I do like that conceit. Given your comedic background, I could easily see you just being like, okay, I am going to create a series, 10-part series where I'm going to put myself in the most awkward musical positions, a la Nathan Fielder, except not to the extreme that he goes. So I could see you being like, okay, national anthem for one, like a stranger's birthday party or whatever. Like, I don't know. We can iterate on that, but I think there's something there. I think you're on it.
Yeah, that would all put me in the hospital. I'm pretty sure. Just one of them. Yeah.
I guess we got to keep you safe. So yeah, there probably is one environment. Yeah, there's probably a few environments we'll keep you out of. We won't send you to North Korea or something like that. Yeah.
Or just worse. I mean, the public nature of that sort of thing, like that sort of stunt, would be pretty much my worst nightmare. I can't think of a more uncomfortable thing for me. And I just crazy to think about. I'm getting nervous and it's not even happening.
So. I don't. Just because I presented the idea to you, you're just like, can we stop this interview right now? I'm done here.
Totally.
Well, the joking aside, this is my last question I pose to you. with the the fact that you do have a versatility in regards to like the environments that you are comfortable with in creating not only music, but I hate to use the word because obviously people don't like content, but
Sure.
that is a thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I guess, most comfortable as the, musician side of yourself or the, internet personality side of yourself? I know it's all just one thing and you obviously aren't like dividing your brain and conquering, but, do you feel more at home in one or the other?
Oh, I feel way more at home in the funny internet goofy skit part. And it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just like, I like I like doing that. It's just like such a fun, creative vessel, and it's so low stakes, and it's so light and everything. And music is great. It's my whole career, but it's also just like it's just like a invasion of privacy, you know? Like it's just like you're kind of like putting it all out there. So to say I'm comfortable with it, yeah, no, definitely that's not the right word. But if I ever became too comfortable with it, I'd probably stop writing good songs. So it's a necessary evil, I guess. And we're gonna keep doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I've already set forth this commitment. Like I got tour dates and
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep writing records. I mean, like the cyclicality of the whole thing in my life right now is too fun to stop.
There you have it. Huge shout out to Petey for coming on the show. I feel weird calling him Petey like it's his nickname, but obviously it's the name of his band. So appreciate that, and also appreciate his publicist Jamie for bringing the idea to me and making it happen. I always like it when people are responsible and putting the pieces together. And Jamie is just top of the pops, as they say. Next week, I have a great conversation with a person who, truthfully, I was trying to hunt down for the better part of like, I don't know, year and a half. And it was funny because some of his bandmates were just like, yeah, he doesn't really do much of this stuff and he probably should. But Scott Angelakos, the vocalist from Bloodlet, Hope and Suicide, and he also plays in a band currently now called Hollowleg. We had a great discussion. This Bloodlet is such an interesting and awesome band that I was able to see a couple of times back in the 90s. And I just think that they were an incredibly unique band. Definitely not like any other Victory Records hardcore band. And truthfully, as they entered into the early 2000s, they still didn't sound like any band. They had this weird sort of hippie progressive nature to their presentation, like not including the dreadlocks they were wearing, but also just their sort of expansive approach on the sort of music that they were creating. And if there was a band that ever embodied the sound of Florida, like the Florida swamps, that is absolutely what Bloodlet did. So I'm thrilled I get to bring this conversation with Scott to you and all the masses and all the people who care about this awesome scene. So anyways, that's what's happening next week. And until then, please be safe, everybody.